If you love Baltimore sports, you'll love WNST.net.
Some thoughts for you on, the writing side of this, and I guess that's what your training is in writing, correct?
Right. And the thing with the writing is that I love to do it, but the problem is sometimes you just don't have the time, or when you do have the time, you're just so exhausted that you just want to do something else for a few minutes.
Yeah, you're telling me. I do 4 hours of radio a day, so
Yeah,
does Drew, so does Bob, so we write.
Yeah, well,
It's just what it is.
I'm still adjusting,
Well, but that's part of the deal. Part of the deal is creating lots of content and engaging people all the time. Really no different than what the Ravens are trying to do with their website or the Baltimore Sun's trying to do with their website or anybody else. It's just been a very, very fertile month to be a sports fan. That's one of the reasons. I was going to do this competition back in March, and I thought, well, that's really not fair. In some ways, once you get into April, every night the hardest decision I think as a host to make is, am I watching the Caps tonight or the Orioles tonight, or am I going to half-ass it and watch a little bit of both, which is difficult to do. Between periods, if you're watching the game live, you can catch a couple innings of the baseball game, but you can't commit to the baseball game and watch the hockey game. It's impossible. Because hockey, you will always miss the goal. Always. Exactly. If you do it that way. What have you been watching?
Well, Saturday I was watching pretty much everything. Like you said, the Caps game and the O's game was on at the same time. I was pretty much focused more on the Caps game just because that's playoff. It's, Penguins, Caps, Crosby versus Ovechkin. That's tight. That's intense. Yeah, and that's going to be a great series, I think. Other than that, once that was over, it was a little bit of golf, a little bit of Kentucky Derby. Watched the Game 7 of Bulls Celtics like everybody else did, I think.
Right. And
then Sunday, I took a little bit of time off, but still managed to catch Red Wings and Ducks round 2, and that is shaping up to be a great series as well.
So you are a hockey fan, or no?
I'm a hockey fan. I don't really show it really until the playoffs. Not that I don't watch it during the regular season, but come Stanley Cup, that's when I get really into it.
I have yet to meet the sports fan in Baltimore, and I've been doing this my whole life, who can converse NHL, NBA, and NASCAR, and UFC, and lacrosse, and college basketball, and college football, and the NFL, and the Orioles, and Major League Baseball, and World Cup soccer, and and on and on and on and on. You could go through IRL, you could go through tennis, you could talk about golf. Everybody here has a strength and a weakness, and it's my opinion that, you always accentuate the strengths and ignore the weaknesses. And, somebody were to call me about a lacrosse game this weekend, I would just say, dude, you know more about it than I do. It's impossible. It's just anybody that comes on the air and says that they've seen everything, they're lying.
Right.
That's what you learn doing this job. It's impossible.
No, I agree. And, you just named all those sports, and some of them I could have a decent conversation with you about, and some of them I couldn't even...
Well, right now it's horse racing time, right?
Yeah.
And horse racing time is legitimately 4 weeks a year for us, for the most part.
And you know what? I didn't know who any of those horses were. I knew who was the jockey yesterday, Calvin Burrell?
Burrell.
I knew he was just because, he won last year. Other than that, I couldn't have a decent conversation. I watched it because it's fun, it's entertaining, it's, a tradition. But when it was over, I, flipped on to what was next after that.
Well, it's not like a tradition like the Daytona 500 where you have to invest 4 hours, or a tradition like the Super Bowl where you have to invest all day. The Derby's like one of those deals where, you got to invest 15, 20 minutes, really.
Sure.
Which makes it a lot easier than the investment in being an Oriole fan, which is a full-time job, or the investment in being a Ravens fan, which is a pretty good part-time job most of the year.
Indeed.
Staying up with football. More happens off the field in football than ever happens on the field.
And that's the beautiful thing about the NFL, and that's, I think, why the NFL is one of my strengths, is because the whole culture of the NFL fascinates me to the highest degree.
Well, you have time to obsess about things.
Exactly.
A lot of time.
Yeah, and plus, when you work for an NFL team for a year, you tend to place more emphasis on that than anything else.
All right, well, we got Geoff Peckham in studio. We will step out. We will grab a...
If you love Baltimore sports, you'll love WNST.net.